CBSE लीकेज,
सर ये खिलवाड़ है ही सर, जिन्होंने ईमानदारी से दिया है उनके लिए तो खिलवाड़ है ही, और जो बेईमानी कर रहे हैं वो तो कर ही रहे हैं।
ये तो CBSE की गलती है, उनको पहले से ध्यान रखना चाहिए था। पेपर लीक होना ही नहीं चाहिए था।
अब कई स्टूडेंट्स होंगे वो किसी चीज की तैयारी कर रहे होंगे एग्जाम बाद, तो उससे वो रह जाएंगे।
For economics is on 25th of April. For class 10, for class 10 maths, the examination will take place if it is found that the leaks have been in Delhi and Haryana, and the decision will be only for Delhi and Haryana. For rest of the states, no re-examination will happen.
हम लोग को बहुत टेंशन था। अभी जब हम लोग को पता चल गया कि एग्जाम नहीं होने वाला है तो हम लोग बहुत खुश हैं।
Praying for this thing that the retest gets cancelled and it's finally there. So we were like screaming when the decision came.
So yeah, we were like really happy that the decision got cancelled because it is really not fair to us to give the exam again. मैं बता नहीं सकती कि कितनी खुशी है।
Considering the seriousness of the matter, we are looking, once the final inquiry comes to us, certainly action shall be taken away, whoever is responsible.
Watching the urban debate on Mirror now, I'm Faye D'Souza. It is time for us to be angry. It's time for us to be angry, viewers, especially if you have a child in the 10th or the 12th standard, you're possibly already angry. But for the rest of us, this is not just a question of the young people in our country being distressed. Remember, we have very, very high rates of stress-related suicide in our country among teenagers and students. But this is a question of corruption. Corruption affects us all. Brazen, blatant, shameless corruption that is constantly stealing from us, now stealing the future of our children. This is what has happened fundamentally. Within the CBSE, which is a government institute that's meant to run examinations, there are corrupt people who leaked the paper for money. Right now, the government, the Department of Education, the HRD ministry, coming in support of those people who are corrupt, promising another empty, hollow investigation. How many promises of investigations have we received over the last 20 years? And how many of those investigations into corruption actually turn out to be anything? What did we get, for example, out of the 2G investigation and the case code? What did we get out of the investigation into Vijay Mallya? What did we get out of the investigation into any other form of corruption? Nothing. When the government says we will investigate, give us a month, we'll let you know, that means they have absolutely no intention of doing anything. And here's how we know they have no intention of doing anything. Because the people who actually performed the act of corruption are still in their offices. They have neither been suspended or sent on leave, which means they have the ability to tamper with evidence. On the other hand, the decision to retest economics for everybody across the country, but to retest math only for Haryana and the Delhi NCR region, makes us raise our eyebrows to say, if you have not conducted your investigation yet, how can you be so sure that it was only Delhi, Haryana? You're trying to minimize impact because you suddenly realize this is a political hot potato. Because these people are all prospective voters next year, and that makes you uncomfortable. Sloppy, selfish, and unacceptable. That's what this entire process has been. And the worst part about it is, this time, you're not stepping on us and our taxpayer money like you do on a regular basis. You're squashing our children. How dare you? How dare the Department of Education have that press conference today that was brazen and disrespectful to our children and the effort that they put into those examinations. Joining me on the show today, Neelam Khatara, social activist and former Deputy Commissioner of Academics, Kendriya Vidyalaya; Deepika Sharma, Principal; Aarti Sate, spokesperson of the BJP; Arya Sethi, student of the 10th standard; N.K. Ambas, the former chairperson of the National Institute of Open Schooling; Sujay Kantawala, a lawyer, Vikram Singh, former DGP Uttar Pradesh and current educationist. I welcome all of you to the show. I'm going to go over first to Neelam Katara ji. Neelam ji, thank you so much for joining us. The students from across the country are calling us, telling us that they're distressed, they're confused and they don't know how to go forward. But I want to understand from you, given your experience in the area of education, what was your response to today's press conference?
I think it is shameful. I think it is unprecedented that the CBSE knew beforehand that the papers had been leaked and they still let the students take the exam. Then after that, the response of the CBSE chairperson as well as the response now in that press conference, I mean, for heaven's sake, these are children of classes 10 and 12. They are not idiots. They have brains. And look at the picture. They have worked. I mean, CBSE is something very big. You know, when the children say we are going to appear in the board this year, the board is something important. They have brought the CBSE down to the pits. That is one thing. And then this is about academics. It's not about bureaucracy that, you know, it's all top down. Some kind of decision should have been taken after brainstorming, after consultations with all the stakeholders. I'm not saying that there can be a better solution, but at least the, you know, the people where these children will go, the heads of departments of economics of our universities, of colleges, the students, their parents, the principals, they should have all been called to the table, and then the students themselves, their student representatives would have themselves come out with what they think is the best solution. This kind of thing is completely missing. The arrogance, the top-down approach will not work with these young people. It's very sad what has happened.
Ms. Katara, I also want to ask you this now. You put this out at one point saying formally the CBSE chief and the Kendriya Vidyalaya chiefs used to be educationalists. Now we have bureaucrats who seem almost out of touch and insensitive with the process of education and what these students go through. I'm not surprised we have a mess.
Absolutely. I mean, up to about 15 years back, it was, you know, they were academics like Father Konuncle, like Professor Singha, like we had Professor Ganguly, then we had Mr. Khandelwal, and after that it's been bureaucrats. So it's a toss-up. I mean, that person might be capable, he might know something about students and about, I mean, it's got to be about students and their psychology. Pedagogy is a whole science. And also they need to know something about how to conduct exams. A person who has never stood in a class, a person who has never conducted exams at the class, school or at a state board level, this is what happens. You see a picture of that in the chairperson of the CBSE, that if things go, because they're not involved, if things go wrong, this is the fiasco. And it is very sad, and whatever else happens from this, I hope the academics who are made heads of bodies like the CBSE after this, because the students cannot be left to the hands of a bureaucrat who may or may not be the most competent person for the situation. This is one big lesson the government needs to learn.
There are several lessons the government needs to learn. Let me go across to Arya Sethi, student of the 10th standard. Arya, thank you for joining us on the show. What are you and your classmates going through? What conversations are you having right now with the rest of your batchmates?
We are actually really annoyed with the situation right now. We had a lot of plans and they are all shattered, and it's surely a thing that CBSE needs to learn a lesson about hard work and time.
Well, it's very interesting that a teenager is going to tell the CBSE that you need to learn a lesson about hard work and time. Aarti Sate, spokesperson of the BJP, it's appalling. This is an appalling state of affairs when Section 144 had to be imposed outside the HRD minister's house in Delhi because he was afraid of teenagers like Arya. How could we have fallen so fast?
No, Faye, you know, I said even 2 days back on this show that what has happened is not something which is which we are happy about or which we are not concerned about. The government, in whatever capacity it can rather, is doing everything possible to bring to books the perpetrators of this whole paper leak scam. In fact, today several people have been questioned and rounded up. There is also a tutorial from Rajendra Nagar. I think the tutorial, the person who conducts the tutorial classes, he has also been interrogated and questioned. So I know the anxiety which the students are going through. I know the anguish. We are completely with that anguish. But let me assure you on behalf of the government that investigations and proper investigations, we will go to the root of this issue. We are going to the root of this issue, and we will see to it that this is not committed again in future. 144 obviously may have been put in place today because, looking at the anxiety of students, we don't want any untoward incident to take place. So it's more of a precautionary measure, where if rioting or anything of any sort takes place, hence 144 has been imposed. We obviously do not want to come to a situation in an academic situation, in education, which is really sacrosanct even insofar as this government is concerned. If you know that our Prime Minister in fact has come out with a book just prior to the examination of the students to tell them as to how they need to study. In fact, even when he was voted into power, his first dialogue was with the students. So having somebody at the helm of our affairs,
quite frankly, I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you there, Aarti Sate. While the Prime Minister might be very well-meaning in writing a book and to tell students how to manage examination stress, someone ought to write a book to tell the CBSE how to conduct examinations. It's a joke today that even if the students followed the advice of the Prime Minister in that book, what would they do now? They thought the exams were over. And an entire mess has been made of that situation.
If the investigation,
really? How will these heads roll while these heads are currently in the CBSE running the system?
In the system,
how is this an honest investigation if no one has been suspended and sent on compulsory leave?
If there is a special, there is a SIT which has been constituted. We cannot jump the gun before the entire picture comes clearly before us. The SIT has been constituted. Everybody, the Delhi crime branch has been, has been investigating.
Okay, so then why did you jump the gun? Why did you jump the gun and decide that you will only have examinations in Delhi and Haryana?
We cannot, and let me tell you.
Faye, may I say something?
No, let me also tell you that the leakage has also happened. The leakage has also happened at a private level where these tutorial classes people are also involved. And there may be somebody in the system. So till the entire nexus is not established,
yes, but how did they get it?
We cannot ask that some certain heads should roll only on the basis of certain allegations.
Nobody, no, Aarti Sate, when you say that with so much, and you're a lawyer yourself, but you're saying it with so much honesty that we'd actually believe this. But listen, nobody's asking you to roll heads. I'm asking you to suspend people, and this is something the government loves to do, to send people on temporary suspension, get them out of that office so they can stop destroying evidence, they can stop tampering with the evidence that's in the office. How can they be in the office protecting their own? In fact, that's exactly what you suspend people for, on a suspicion until the investigation is over. Sujay Kantawala, let me point this out to you.
But there's a suspicion. The suspicion doesn't point out straight at the official.
Faye, normally what happens?
You fire someone, you arrest someone when you have evidence. 1 second.
Faye, yes. Normally what happens when such a large scale scandal has broken out? You normally identify immediately the people responsible and you see to it that they are shifted away from the place of crime. So if you have an SIT which has been formed, which my friend Aarti just said, then how can the SIT function and how can the SIT dig into all this when the people who are actually responsible are still in office? So you have a bundle of contradictions over here. And then you have these heads coming on TV and saying, don't panic, don't panic. Look, my plane is about to crash and the pilot is saying, don't panic, don't panic. How are you going to tell all these lakhs and lakhs of students? And you know what students go, we have gone through this before an exam, maybe a couple of weeks before the exam, our health starts failing, we get nervous, we lose interest in eating food. Once your exam is over, you feel that elation. And now when you are told that you have to reappear for an exam because somebody somewhere played some mischief, or some people were sleeping over things and didn't care a shit about it, and therefore I have to give my exam again, that is appalling. Therefore, people who are honest have to suffer, and those corrupt people are still in office. How can you reconcile both these things? You have to penalize those people. The system needs an overall complete change, and you cannot ask the students to go for a re-exam. If certain wrong has been done, maybe in certain areas, that's it. You just have to proceed with life.
Sujay, let
People
me read
have
out
made up
some
their
information.
plans. They're appearing for entrance exams. Now, one father has approached the Supreme Court of India. So now, has the Supreme Court to even monitor this? Are you going to put all the burden on the Supreme Court to take all decisions? Exactly. What is the executive and bureaucracy doing?
Burden on the court. One second, Sujay. Sujay, let me bring it. Let me read out this information. Let me read out this information. And this, viewers, was submitted by the Ministry of Home Affairs to Parliament this year. These numbers are shocking, and I'll tell you why. 26,000 students committed suicide in India between the years 2014 and 2016, out of which 7,400 students in India committed suicide because of fear of failure or failure in an examination. As per the data shared by the Union Ministry of Home Affairs to Parliament, 9,474 students committed suicide in the year 2016 alone, which is an increase of 1,000 students from the previous 2 years.
So instead of
why it is completely shocking and laughable.
That's right.
Yes, that section 144 was imposed to protect Mr. Javadekar. But nobody wants to protect our children.
Absolutely.
Vikram Singh, nobody wants to protect our children.
And the children are the future of the country. What is the message that is being given to them?
Exactly, like I would like to add in this, ma'am.
Nothing could be.
I'm sorry, Mr. Vikram Jain.
Nothing would be more shocking
Vikram Singh,
and disgusting than to impose 144 CRPC outside the minister's house. Today, CBSE has become synonymous to unmitigated disaster. First, you bungle up with the question papers. You have advance notice of leakages. You have no road map. You have no damage control. You don't have a system of backup. You don't have a backup for a backup. You have no war room or a control room. Everybody is gallivanting and celebrating holidays in the time of the most crucial part of the year. And you have no shame left to say, do not worry. The interest of the children is supreme. Empty words, unconvincing, and mean nothing to anyone. Please understand that you are quoting the recipe of disaster. Nobody, RTG, nobody is asking for anybody's head. But the least you can do, justice must not only be done, but must seem to be done. Those who are responsible, there's something known as prima facie. If a train meets with an accident, the cabin in charge, the station master, jolly will be placed under suspension. Inquiry will follow later. In such cases, you have to be cruel to be kind, shoot first and apologize later. Here, we always talk in the future tense. We are doing this, we will do this, and that rainbow will never come in our lives. I don't see if any rainbow has indeed, or any mirage has any descended on our laps ever, and it's never going to be. Please be accountable to your conscience. They are your children, and what Faye has said is a disastrous situation, and we are knocking at the door of disaster. Please prevent and avert it. And if you do not, the disaster is knocking at our doorsteps. Let us hope that what Faye has said does not come true, at least this year. We are able to make some kind of a damage control exercise, but the CBSE chief and those responsible for the secrecy and the safe conduct and the proper conduct of the examination must be placed under suspension. During the course of inquiry, and I would take the point further from Mr. Sujay Kantawala, when I am complicit with those involved in a scandal, I don't have it in me to take action. I have to be on a high moral ground to take action. If I'm complicit or mixed up in the scandal, how do you expect me, Mr. Sujay Kantawala, Faye, and learned panelists to take action? Because I'm a part of the larger conspiracy. Exactly. I'm mixed up eyeball deep in the conspiracy and the crime that I have perpetrated. How can I take an action?
Well, I want to go back to our young panelist here, Arya Sethi. Arya, you wanted to react to the numbers that I read out. I'm sorry if they were disturbing, but these were numbers that were presented in Parliament of suicides among students.
Yes. Actually, I would like to add some points here. Number one, that we have lost our credibility in the CBSE. We have lost our credibility in CBSE, and education is being politicized now. Point here is that education being politicized here now, that we are facing towards it, and really the CBSE needs to give a clear and a crisp answer as to what is going to happen.
Absolutely. And are you satisfied with the answers you've heard so far, Arya?
Yes, I have been satisfied to some extent, and one thing I would like to tell about the hard work point I was mentioning. The hard work point I was mentioning here, like I was taught by an 11th grade student myself. I was taught by an 11th grade student, and I feel bad for him now that because that he had worked hard for such a long time, and we have to give the re-examinations again.
Absolutely. And I want to ask your dad as well. सेठी साहब हमारे साथ जुड़े हुए हैं. सेठी आर्या के पिता है. सेठी जी, ये एक पूरे परिवार पे स्ट्रेस लाता है, ना काफी बच्चों पे, बट परिवार पे, माँ बाप पे, पूरी परिवार के हाथ होती है बच्चों की पढ़ाई में. क्या आपको लगता है कि गवर्नमेंट को कुछ करनी चाहिए? आपका रिएक्शन क्या है आज के प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस के बाद? All right, we're going to try and go back to him. Deepika Sharma, principal of a school in Delhi, joins us as well. Deepika ji, do you believe that that what Arya says, that the CBSE has lost credibility, that they've lost the faith of the students? Do you agree with that?
Well, that's how if the students feel, because it has been really bad and terrible for them, extremely confusing. But today some clarity has come. At least they've decided they're going to have a retest and the date of the retest. However, I still don't agree with them when they say that the 10th exam would be there for maths and sometime in July. I think if they have to have a test, it should be sometime in April, or at the max sometime in first week of May. But then I think that's for them to reconsider and do it by 15th. Yes, that should be good. Also, if they feel that the access of question paper was just limited to Delhi NCR as well as Haryana, well then I'm happy for the rest of the nation. Let the children go on with their plans, be happy. Well, if that's what the investigation says, I'm okay with that.
Well, let me bring in Sujay Kantawala again. Sujay, this is a question of corruption, and we've seen this happen over and over again. You and Vikram Singh have been part of several conversations we've had on this channel where we've talked about how these investigations that are announced never actually turn into anything. What happened to the 2G scam? What happened to all of the other things we were supposed to chase down and convict? Everybody's out scot-free.
See, what we
Where is Nirav Modi? Out scot-free. So, nobody takes corruption seriously in this country.
So, Faye, what we have seen is corruption is such a termite that has eaten into our fabric and into the entire psychology of the nation, because there are such powerful forces that are working, Faye, and Mr. Vikram Singh will agree with me with his experience, that they have so much money and muscle power and influence at their disposal that these inquiries are only started for optical illusion. And somewhere along the line, they just die a death. So that is the whole way these inquiries go. And we have seen that from years and years. So really nobody believes in these inquiries. You set up an SIT, ultimately what happens? That accountability is not there. How can you have an SIT in place investigating when the people who are the actual culprits or the suspected culprits are still in office? You rightly said at the start, made very, very important points and observations, that you can't have a person who is being investigated sitting in office, because there is a clear danger of and likelihood of tampering with the evidence, with the documents, influencing other witnesses. And here on the other hand, you foist this liability of a retest on these helpless students who have no choice. If you tell them you have to give a retest in April, the poor student is going to sit. The entire family who has planned everything, or maybe an entrance exam which is following for class 12 economics, that will go through. So where does he have to study? For the entrance exam or the economics retest? Thereafter, you say, the honorable principal said that maybe it may be held in May or maybe in June, and that if this is completely in a field of sort of speculation, where does the student go? Where does he land up? And how he has prepared for it? You see, when a student is appearing for an exam, Faye, the entire family actually gears up for it. And after the exam is over, the family actually plans a small well-earned holiday. The father, mother, the other sibling, they all have planned. Why can't we be sensitive? Why can't we be sensitive to these kind of things and expect lakhs and lakhs of students again to sit for an exam?
Absolutely. Aarti Sathi, what is your response to this? There is nobody on this panel, Aarti Sathi, who has faith in this investigation, who has faith in the chief of the CBSE or the Department of Education. How are we going to crawl back from that point, Aarti? Mr. Ambas, I'm going to come to you immediately after this.
Yeah. Do you want me to come in?
Maybe it's the anguish, it's the anguish, it's the anger, and rightly so the anger which is being portrayed even on the, by the panelists today. I am, I have to empathize with them. I understand, and I'm not going to dispute the fact that this anger is something which is not warranted. They are, of course, entitled to their opinions about the entire investigation process. But let me tell you, and at the cost of repetition, at the cost of maybe not sounding as convincing, because at this point of time, I think the anger has overtaken, any sort of assurance which the government may give. But let me assure you at the same time that everything that is possible insofar as these paper leaks is concerned, the government has started working on it literally, as soon as this entire episode came to light. So just to say that people have lost faith in the process, I think would be slightly wrong. We still do not have a judicial system which has got completely crumbled. By saying that the faith in the investigation process has been lost is sort of giving out a wrong message, because that not only reflects on our investigating bodies, but it also reflects on our judicial system. It reflects on a lot of things. So let's not get so apathetic.
No, it does not reflect on our judicial system. Nice try, Aarti Sathi, but no,
for the
you
people.
Can't. No.
Yeah,
all right. Anyone?
So
1 second. On this panel right now, no, Aarti Sathi.
Let me tell
on this panel right now, raise your hand if you believe that this
investigation process at the same time.
Raise your hand if you believe that this investigation is hogwash and the government is not at all serious about bringing these people to book. Raise your hand on this panel right now if you believe that this investigation is hogwash. Aarti Sathi, nobody believes this investigation. It has nothing to do with the judiciary. It has everything to do with the fact that the government is shielding the organization, shielding the officers, and shielding the people who did this. Because nobody has brought anyone corrupt to book in this country up till now. NK Ambas, do you take this seriously? Mr. Ambas, do you take this seriously? And shielding itself. Yes, and shielding itself.
Cases
Mr. Abbas, go ahead.
The corruption has been cracked down. Several cases where corruption has been cracked down. Several cases where maybe for lack of evidence things have not moved. But I don't think to say not to repose faith in the system is the answer.
How does one arrive at lack of evidence when the investigation is compromised? 1 second, Mr. Ambas, Mr. NK Ambas, former chairman of the National Institute of Open Schooling. Mr. Ambas, go ahead.
Right. You see, I must admit that this is a very pathetic and tragic situation that has arisen. And we cannot hold any brief for this kind of lapse. The way out is perhaps that re-examination, and there is no other way, and partial examination that has been announced today. Perhaps that is the compromise, but it is not the solution. You see, the whole system of evaluation or examination is perverted. It doesn't test what the child has learnt. It only tests his rote memory power. And I can assure you that if the best of the students who have scored 100% marks, if they are given the very same paper after 2 months, they will not be able to get the same score, because
okay, so you don't believe in examinations at all, right?
Concentrating on knowledge and memory power. Right. So if you look at the objectives of education,
I want to bring in 1 second. I want to bring in, sir. I want to bring in Neelam Khatara here.
Must lead to skill development. Just a minute, please.
Yes,
please,
I want to bring in. I want to bring in Neelam Khatara here.
Miss Khatara. If you don't allow, then I'll stop.
Yes.
No, just a minute, please. Don't.
No, sir. But this is not a question of whether or not we should have examinations at all, and we are not questioning the entire system of education. I'm specifically talking about the paper leak and the government's reaction to the paper leak.
Without listening to me, you start. You see, that's what best other things could have happened.
Go ahead.
Yes, you are right that those who are culprits or those who have been negligent, they must be punished. You are also right that those who are in office must be removed before any inquiry is done. I am in total agreement with that. But what I am saying is, what is the guarantee that this will not happen again? This is because the entire evaluation or examination system is based on memory power, based on reproduction of knowledge. It doesn't lead you to the understanding or assimilation within the individual. So there is a need for making examination a trauma-free situation. If supposing for a while that there was some kind of mechanism that any child can take examination any day, any time, just a minute. Just as you go to a pathological lab and get your blood test and then get the result and take the medicine and then come again and then come again and then come again until you are all right. Similar attempt was made.
Yes. No, I understand what you're saying. Mr. Ambush, I'm going to interrupt you here. But like I said, we are not questioning the entire system and whether or not we need to have examinations altogether.
You see,
unless
you have to listen.
Yes, Neelam ji, go ahead.
You have to listen to the reforms that need to be
taken. For one, I can't see, after all my 30 years in teaching and whatever, why does there have to be a retest for class 10? I think whether for Haryana or Delhi or for anybody, I think that is completely uncalled for, and I think somebody should tell me, because class 10 students just have to continue in class 11 even if they go to another school. I mean, they know that this has happened, that's all. So we don't need a retest or re-exam for class 10 anyways. I think that is putting unnecessary suspense and putting the children to agony. So that is one. And after this, as far as the investigation is concerned, of course that will go out, but I mean, why couldn't the minister and the CBSE chairperson take responsibility and say sorry to the students and maybe even step down and let the investigation go on, whatever may come out of it? This whole brazen attitude, this arrogance that okay, no big deal, I mean, they're only children, come on, what is, like somebody said on another panel, what's the problem with taking an exam again? This just shows that, I mean, people will not even treat this as a problem. That is the sad thing. Bachche ek baar aur de denge exam, that is the attitude which is so terrible. And how can we put our children's future into hands of people who think like this? Surely they need a better deal.
Right, and Neelam ji, I want to ask you this question. Who do you think the government is shielding right now? It's certainly not the children. Who are they shielding?
I think the government is shielding itself. First of all, it's First of all, it's shielding itself, because finally the buck stops there. I mean, you have a minister who was laughing and asking that the people should give me a solution, you know, at that meeting. This was not a laughing matter. So it's shielding itself and its stooges, one of whom is obviously the chairman CBSE. The system has failed. They are completely at a loss. How could the chairman CBSE allow an exam to take place even if she knew 10 minutes before the paper that the paper has been leaked? So we see who they are shielding, and I think the buck stops only at the top. So I feel that the minister HRD is shielding himself and his officers, and finally the government is shielding itself. Because if they say, yes, we have made a blunder, they're scared to say that.
But
I mean, why don't they admit that their system does not work?
The government is shielding itself, and you know, unfortunately, all of the representatives of the ruling party who've been on this channel over the last 3 days talking about this problem have said, don't politicize, don't politicize. I wish someone would politicize, because if you saw this as a political hot potato, if you saw this as a vote bank, then perhaps you would have taken sterner, swifter action to rectify the problem. Unfortunately, the government doesn't see this as a serious problem at all. Srinivasan on the phone line from Belgavi. Srinivasan, go ahead.
Yeah, good evening. Seeing it without any passion from either side, I would like to hit the nail on the head where it counts. See, the first thing is when the CBSE chairman and the education secretary told that at 10 o'clock she saw the mail. That clearly shows that they have the attitude of working from 10:30 to 5. As a common sense, the CBSE conducts 3 or 4 examinations a year. As a common sense, they should have made a crisis management team which works 24/7 and which has the powers to take action. And this is a very convenient way to say 10 o'clock. And why mail? Mail mein kyun bhejte ho? Then what else? Somebody has to send it by parrot post? No, this callous attitude, and let us know one thing clearly, that whosoever is in the government, the minister cannot take each and every decision. The decisions are taken by these babus who don't want to work. They go for their salaries, and you call them anytime, saab meeting mein, saab bathroom mein. That is the attitude which they have. The common sense, they should have made a crisis management team which is empowered to take decisions. A simple common sense, which unfortunately they don't have. Thank you.
I am sorry to interrupt, but
rightly said, Vikram Singh, simple common sense is missing, and it's not just
solutions.
Yes, Arya, go ahead.
Solutions come when we do not, Yes. I was saying that solutions come when we crave for vote banks. When we crave for them, they do not come when we crave for the vote banks.
Well, I think this is the time that one should start thinking about long-term examination reforms.
Yes, speaking about long-term education reforms,
this will not solve this problem right now. What is going to happen, that in future, at least, if you start doing from right now, maybe after 2, 3, 4 years, you may evolve a solution which will not be prone to this kind of malpractices. So an earnest effort is needed in this direction. Unfortunately, we are sort of crisis management on the spot to manage the crisis and then move on, then have another crisis, then move on. So long-term perspective. And in this context, if I may be permitted to say so, the whole objective of education is lost. The examination only tests the knowledge, rote memory, reproduction, and that's it. But the other aspects of learning, that is knowledge, understanding, skill, habit, attitude, values are never tested.
Exactly how I would like to quote.
Please, let me finish. Don't interrupt like that. So you quote later, right? So where do we assess values that the child has adopted? So unfortunately, this whole examination is memory based. You test the memory and you never come to real person, real education. And there is the need for you to evolve a very, very sound, strategic, continuous evaluation how the child or child's personality has developed. That is one aspect. Unfortunately, because it is summative examination at the end of debate.
Yes. Right. So I'm running out of time. I have to bring in my other panelists as well. But your point about examinations is well taken. I want to bring in Vikram Singh and then Aarti Sathe. Vikram Singh, my question to you is this. Aarti Sathe says that we're taking it seriously. But as rightfully pointed out by our panel, this is nothing but very bad crisis management. It's not even good crisis management. Reading emails at 10 a.m. in the morning, taking Saturdays and Sundays off during examination time, taking 5-day weekends when such a massive crisis has blown up in the country. Our reporter went to the CBSE office in Delhi and found it was empty because everybody was on leave given the long weekend. That's absolutely ridiculous. Now, I want to circle back to this one point. If we were truly serious about solving this problem, then this current government would have investigated the leaks over the last 4 years, would have investigated the leaks before that. How many actual convictions or investigations have we had? How many previous leaks have we looked into? And how many have we blocked? Zero. That's the answer, Vikram Singh. Zero.
Faye, unfortunately, you are absolutely right. We have no success stories to boast about. And what about crisis resolution or crisis management? We have no control room. We have no 24/7, as the learned caller had mentioned, that we have nothing like a crisis management center. And the CBSE has the audacity to say that the information that we got was not from recognized channels. You don't get information in affidavits, sworn affidavits, and on stamp paper. This is the exact channel through which you get random, uncertified information, and you have to work on them. You have to work on the credibility of the information and take every information on face value and work on them as if it is the gospel truth. You did not work on them. To my political panelists, I would request, don't listen to me, don't listen to any of us, but at least listen to the Honorable Prime Minister. He says, Umang aur Utsah, that is festival and passion, that you are a warrior. A battle is won even before the first bullet is fired, by the strength of the quartermaster, and you are the quartermaster. You are supposed to back up the warrior, and you have failed your warriors. And when you have failed the warriors, the outcome of the battle is a foregone conclusion. Please don't fail our children. You have not only failed our children, you have failed your Prime Minister also. Please have mercy on him, have mercy on the children. If you have any shame left, CBSE chaps, please own up the responsibility. But that is obviously a matter of honor. Only an honorable person will admit his mistake. Only an honorable person will step down. A shameless person, it is not expected of a shameless person to step down and own up responsibility. And Faye, you do not have a system, you do not have a backup, you do not have a roadmap even to run a control room. You see, no guardian angel or fairy will come and guide me in my destiny and my work. You have to work out, and a fail-proof system that is a backup for a backup for a backup. None, you are not taken by surprise. You do not allow grass to grow underneath your feet. Unfortunately, you have allowed a forest to grow underneath your feet. And then you say, koi baat nahi hai, hum dekh lenge, there's nothing to worry about. A cavalier attitude, a casual attitude. And then say examination is like running a marathon the next day again after running a marathon. Please don't be so cruel on our children.
Right. Aarti Sathe, I have a minute to go. I'll give it to you to respond to all of the things that you've heard so far.
Well, my only response, I think, is going to be that
well, I would want to
have faith in the system, and let's not completely. Let's not. 1 minute now. Can I please complete? I have been listening to everybody very patiently. I have been listening to all the allegations very patiently because I am a sensitive. I'm sensitive to the problems of the people, and as a government representative, it's only my duty to listen to really what the issues are going through the minds of parents and all the disgruntled people. So all that I need to say is that have faith in the system. Sometimes the systems may fail you. Systems again are, government is not a haloed body by itself. It comprises of various people. There are various constituents which form the government. We as people also are a part of the entire governance system. And I'm not taking away the fact that wherever the government has committed mistakes, the government will at the same time see to it that those mistakes are not committed. Hence, to show the seriousness of the government, and we are not shielding anybody. Now tomorrow suppose corruption charges are levelled against a particular minister or a particular bureaucrat, the Prime Minister is not going to step down for that. Proper investigations will be carried out. Similarly in this case, not that Mr. Zavadekar is shielding himself or shielding X bureaucrat or Y bureaucrat. All that we are really doing and all that we are doing even now is seeing to it that what exactly is the nexus of this entire racket which is going on for years. If investigation was of no use, then we wouldn't have somebody of Mr. Lalu Prasad Yadav's stature being convicted in our country. So the system obviously is working. The system may have its own glitches, but it's not that the investigation authorities are wrong or the police department is wrong. I think we are somewhere demoralizing everybody by constantly attacking them.
I've run out of time.
Coming back to the issue at hand, we have conducted various raids. 6 students have been picked up. So where is being shown? Yes, there has been.
You know what, Aarti Sate, I'm going to stop you there. Aarti Sate, I'm sorry, but I'm going to stop you there. How can you possibly talk about demoralizing the officers within the CBSE instead of demoralizing the thousands and lakhs of students whose hearts we have broken over the last 1 week? Where are your priorities? Is this what we're worried about? Demoralizing government officers and ministers?
I'm not taking away the students' demoralization.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No,
this is exactly what you said. You said if we question the system, you're demoralizing the people who are working in the system.
And questioning it.
Of course.
I did not say about. No, we are a part of the system today to show.
You're damn right. I'm going to demoralize the system, Aarti Sate. You have to demoralize the system. You have to take it apart. It is corrupt.
No.
It is rotten from the inside out.
Correct. There are glitches. We are fixing
the glitches. It is rotten from the inside out. And it is true.
We are fixing the corruption.
These are not glitches. I'm sorry. Aarti Sate, yours is a government that came into power promising a Bhrashtachar Mukt Bharat. And now you are saying these are glitches in the system. When you came into power, you said India is corrupt. It's become corrupt after so many years of corruption. We're going to clean it up. You're right. It's still corrupt. And now you're calling these glitches in the system. Glitches. The system is rotten. It is being eaten up from the inside. It's hollow and it's corrupt. And you have to clean it up. And how dare you today say that we should be worried about demoralizing the government officers? Look at the number of students who have come out onto the street in the last 1 year alone. Banaras Hindu University, the girls who were lathi charged by the police. JNU, lathi charged by the police. The SSC scam on the entrance of the government services. On the streets for over a week. And now the students from CBSE. On the street, 10th standard, 12th standard students standing on the road asking for justice. Is this the country that we run? Farmers on the street asking for justice. Is this the country that we run? Taxpayers distressed with the kind of money they have to pay for taxes. Where is the justice? I don't understand. What faith do you expect us to have and in what system? Do you realize in the last 24 hours when the railways opened up applications for its jobs, it got more applications than the population of all of Australia? What does that mean? That there aren't enough jobs in this country? And you're telling me that the system has glitches in it? That you are going to investigate while those officials in the CBSE stay in their offices? This investigation is a hollow promise, a promise of nothing. If you actually meant to investigate, you would suspend anyone suspected so that they couldn't tamper with evidence. If you were really serious about handling this problem, you wouldn't say, we'll take a look at it, we'll decide, we'll not decide. Because what you're going to do in a month's time is say, utter no examination, everybody forget about it, people move on with their lives. And those who are corrupt in the system remain corrupt. I shudder to think what kind of money has exchanged hands. for that press conference to happen today. That press conference was a slap in the face of every child and every parent in this country who was worrying about these examinations. Thankfully, those people have the power to vote in less than a year. And if our government doesn't understand any other language, the language of a vote is something that they will understand. Do the math on how many children are distressed right now, add a pair of parents to each of those children, maybe grandparents, maybe siblings, now count the vote bank. And you let them all down. There is no coming back from today's press conference. There is no coming back from the callous and insensitive manner in which you have treated these children and their parents. You had the opportunity to fix it today. You blew it. You have shown us that you do not care, that you are not serious, that removing corruption is not a priority, that shielding the corrupt is right up there. It is terribly disappointing. On behalf of the adults in this country, I want to apologize to the children. We let you down. We should have done better. We should have pushed our government harder. We should have demanded more accountability. We should have demanded more action on corruption. We should have demanded that our RTI Act be strengthened instead of weakened. We didn't. And you are unfortunately having to pay that price. I hope you learn from our experience and make stronger demands of a government when you come in to vote next year. Thanks for watching.